Hello everyone, thank you for watching. This is Zigsphere, and today I'm going to be doing a tutorial video on how to configure two different networks using one router. And the router that I'm going to be using today is the Cisco 2811, and I'm using the Cisco Packet Tracer software. So I'm going to drag the Cisco 2811 onto the screen here, and then I'm going to be using just a few generic machines. I'm just going to put 3 up there. Of course, you can put as many as you want, but I'm just going to choose 3 and rather than make up a whole network diagram. And then I'm going to be putting just one server. I'm going to be using this server here for DHCP. You can also configure the 2811 to do DHCP, but I am not going to do that. So here are 3 machines, 1 server, and this is just for one side of the network. And then I'm going to be putting 3 other machines over here on this side, and this will be the other network. And then I'm going to put another server up here, and this will be also used for DHCP on this side. Alright, so you have these 2 networks, and now we need to connect them together. So I'm going to choose a switch. I'm just going to put 1 on each side. And then we need to connect all that all together, and with the connections down here I'm going to be using the copper straight through cable. So I'm going to be connecting these to the switches. Now the first one that I'm going to be using is the second port on the switch, because I used the first one for the router connection. Okay, and then I'm going to be doing the same thing to this side. Just like that. And as you can see here, the green lights up here, they all mean that they have successfully connected to the switch, and after this orangish color they're acquiring a connection. So right now they're still loading, and these PCs here are pretty much like an emulator. This is pretty much a computer that will be loading in real life. So I'm going to be connecting these switches to this router. Alright, so now you have this whole network diagram connected to each other, but you still need to configure the 2811 router to connect them. So I'm going to click on this, and as you can see here, the router power is on, and I'm just going to be using the basic setup. I don't have any WIC cards or any serial cards in here. I'm just going to be using fast Ethernet 0 and 1. So I'm going to open up the command line interface, and this is where we do all the configuration. And the first thing that it asks you when you start up the router is if I want to continue with the configuration dialog, and I want to say no. Alright, so now it has the prompt, and I first want to enable, and this is where I would want to type the commands. So if you want to kind of get a brief idea about how it's connected right now, I want to do a show IP interface brief, and as you can see here, everything is down and administratively down. So you want to configure this. So for the first network, I want to give it an IP address. So we want to do a config T, which is configure terminal, and then we want to say interface fast Ethernet 0, 0. And then if you want, you can give a description. You can just say 192.168.250.0/24 network. And then we're going to give it an IP address, so we're going to say IP address. We're going to give it a 192.168.250.254 address with a /24 subnet. Just like that. And then in order to turn on the interface, you want to say no shut. And as you can see here, the state has been turned to the up position. And then I want to save my changes, say do rw or wr, and you would do the do wr if you were in the config mode. So now we're going to go ahead and look at the an overview of what it is now. So we're going to do another show IP interface brief. Oops, spelled that wrong. Okay, so as you can see here, fast Ethernet 00 is now status up, protocol is up, so that is good. And then I'm going to minimize this for a second, and as you can see here, there is a link between the router and the switch. Whoops, I don't want to open that. So now you want to configure this side of the network. So we're going to bring this up here. And you want to do another config T. And then you want to say interface fast Ethernet 01. And you can give it another description too by using the description command, but I'm just going to go by this quickly and just say IP address. I'm going to do 192.168.251.254 address with a IP subnet of /24, so 255.255.255.0, and then I'm going to do another no shut. And as you can see, the change state is up on this one. And as you can see here, there's a link, and this one's acquiring right now. But it looks like these two will be successfully configured. So we're going to do a do wr to save your changes. So now I want to configure these servers to do DHCP. So in the config, I want to give it a subnet. Sorry, not a subnet, an IP address. But first from the gateway, we're going to do a 192.168.250.254. And the DNS server, well, technically it can just be itself. Well, we can make this server a DNS server as well. So we're going to say 192.168.250.100. And then you want to click on DHCP. Default gateway again, 192.168.250.254, and then the DNS 192.168.250.100. And then with the start IP address, I just want to start probably at 2. Of course, it's your preference. And then you want to save it. And then in the IP configuration, in the static, you want to make this static since you already did that earlier. 192.168.250.100, and the subnet mask of /24. All right. So we wanted to remember this DNS address because we're going to make this side of the network here the we're going to have a DNS, these DNSs connect to this server. So this server here is going to be the main DNS server for the entire network. So we have to remember the 250.100. So over here we're going to configure this server, and we're going to say, okay, this is another static address. However, we're going to give it a the 251 network. So this is a 192.168.251.254, and then the DNS server 192.168.250.100. And this is also a DHCP server, so we're going to say 192.168.251.254, and the DNS server is 192.168.250.100. And the start IP address is going to be 2. And 255.0, and I put 2 here. You can fill these out too if you want, but they're all automatic, so it's not like I just put 2 there. It will auto-populate. And then you want to give it a static IP address, 192.168.250. Sorry, 251. We're just going to say 251.100. And I'm going to make sure that I gave it that IP address. Let's see. Yep. Okay, good. And as you can see here, it did auto-populate. Start IP address 251.0. Of course, I don't want that. I want 251.2. I'm going to save that. Okay. So now these servers here are connected. Not connected, they're configured. Now on these servers, or on these PCs, you want them to get a DHCP address. So on the desktop, you hit IP configuration, hit DHCP, and as you can see here, the DHCP request was successful with an IP address of 192.168.250.1. Of course, it's not supposed to be getting a .1, so it looks like we need to configure this again. Let's see. Yep, maybe that didn't auto-populate like I thought. So we're going to put .2 there. And we're going to redo this one. There you go. 192.168.250.2. And then I'm going to do the same thing for these machines. So this one got a .3. And this one .4. Okay, awesome. So on these machines here, I'm going to do the same thing, but they should be getting a 251, so a 251.2. There you go. Alright, so we're just going to pick a machine here. So this is a 250.2. So on this machine here, we're going to try to ping that. So we're going to do a ping 192.168.250.2. Of course, sometimes the first ping doesn't go through correctly, request times out, but as you can see here, now it's starting to reply, so I'm going to ping one more time, and it replies successfully. So great, it pings from this machine to this machine, so we're going to see if we can ping this machine here. So this is a 251.3, so we're going to go to this machine here, and we're going to do ping 192.168.251.3. So it's thinking a little bit. And then there is a successful reply to that server, or to that machine. Great. So that is how you configure two different networks using the Cisco 2811 router. If you have any questions, please leave any comments below, and I will be happy to answer them. Thank you.